So I want to share a little story with you today. I just got off the call with a client and was so inspired by her story. I thought, you know what, I need to take a minute to share this with you because it's kind of blowing my mind. When I bring people into numerology, I know a few things are going to happen for sure. Number one, their intuition is going to skyrocket, right? They will receive messages for themselves, for their clients, for the people in the world, and they will become incredibly clear where in the past they might have felt muddled, confused, or overwhelmed. And this, in and of itself, is a huge, powerful outcome. So many of us spend so much time in our days in the confusion, in the muddle, in the overwhelm, in the back and forth, in the outsourcing our decision power, outsourcing our authority, asking other people what's best for us. When if we actually were connected with our intuition and tuning inwards, we would know the answer. And so to me, that's kind of one of the main outcomes, I guess, that people get out of numerology, which always to me blows my mind and makes me so happy to see. Number two, people end up feeling a sense of purpose and like their life matters and like it means something and like there's a reason they're here. And the way they are is not an accident. The way they are, the habits they have, the way they act, the way they think, the way they do things is not an accident and it's not wrong. It might be different than some of the other people around them, but they were designed that way for a reason. Their uniqueness is part of their superpower. And again, that in and of itself is a huge, powerful awareness. But I just got off the call with someone who is a client and has become a dear friend over the last little while, as most of my clients end up becoming. And she has been facing some very significant health challenges, very significant health challenges. And when we were talking about what numerology has done for her, she said one of the most powerful things that numerology has done is it has given her the confidence to be her own health advocate, to stop outsourcing her inner knowing to other people. Yes, she receives guidance and advice and does the tests and does the assessments and does the consultations with the physicians and receives their guidance and their advice. But rather than blindly being victimized by the system, she is now recognizing that she has the power to sort and sift through this information that's coming at her in a potentially very overwhelming way and clearly know what is right for her body, for her soul, for her heart, for her mental, emotional, and physical well being. And she said one of the biggest outcomes of taking numerology was that clarity in trusting herself to make the right decision for herself around her health. And I was floored. I was completely blown away. I know how overwhelming it can be when you are being told all different pieces of advice from all different people. And when we fall down that trap, whether it comes to health, education, career, raising children, any of those things, nutrition, any of those things, we start to leak our power and leak our energy because we're like, oh, maybe they know. Oh, maybe they know. Oh, maybe this person will tell me. And the more we look outside of ourselves for answers, the more confused we get. Raise your hand if you've been there, right? I remember a time not too long ago where I felt that way. And I was looking for answers outside of myself and asking everyone I knew what I should do. And the more I asked, the more confused I got. And I remember going to my tarot cards and asking, I would ask every single day, what should I do? What should I do? What should I do? And then one day the cards stopped answering. They were like, no, we are not giving you any more information because you are not empowering yourself to move forward from a position of, do you know what's best for you? Of course you do. Of course you do. Can you let go of the conditioned belief that there's experts out there that know more for you than you do for you? It's not true. It's not real. Yes, you can get guidance. Yes, you can get advice, but can you choose for yourself and trust yourself to filter that information through your inner guidance system to know what's right for you? And to watch this woman do that has been so powerfully inspiring. She's receiving that information, but yet checking it with herself to know what's right for her so she can move forward confidently and clearly in taking the actions she needs to do to heal. So empowering. And I asked her, how did she get to this point? And this kind of blew my mind because about a week ago in my community, my numerology community, I shared a very vulnerable story. And I shared, really some of the trials and challenges I faced to get to this point in my business. And I shared, what some of those challenges were and how I navigated them. And one of the biggest things I talked about that resonated with this woman was um, in my kind of like rock bottom moment, dark night of the soul moment, as I chose to move through that and come through that, I actually started to prioritize myself and choose myself radically in a way I'd never done before. I put myself before my children. I put myself before my work. I put myself before clients, friends, connections, my baby, who was like, you know, 6 months old to 2 years old at the time. I had to put myself before all of them in order to regain that sense of trust and power within myself so that I could be the best version of myself, which meant that I could be there for them. And this is a hard thing, I think for a lot of women to fully own, acknowledge, or even choose to do because we're so conditioned that it's important to be selfless, right? It's important to give of yourself. It's important to uplift your family and take care of your family. And the martyr mother is a story that we see everywhere, right? And that selfless is a virtue. Selfless? Can we break that down for a second? Selfless? No. Self more. Self more. Because when I get to that place, that's what I want to model for my children. That's what I want to model for my clients. That's what I want to model for mostly my kids. And that was one of the decisions that really changed things for me. As I said, if one of my children was in my position right now, what would I want them to do? And I made the choices from that place. And I shared the story in my numerology group. And this inspired this woman to start choosing herself more radically when it came to her healthcare and learning how to trust herself by going inwards and listening to her inner guidance system based on what the numbers were guiding her towards, helped her empower herself around that. And now the ripple effects of that filtering through to her family and her clients and her loved ones and the people in her world. And so I think the point of all this is to say, again, we don't understand the impact of the choices we have. We don't always know, there's not always a linear, straightforward path. But if you can move forward in trusting yourself, taking actions from that place, you have no idea the amazing potential and outcomes that await for you. You just don't. It's beyond our wildest imagination, which I'm so grateful for because it gives us so much to be surprised and delighted about in life. And I also just really want to take a moment to say, your story matters. I was scared to share my story in my community. And I had so many people reach out and tell me how grateful they were that I did. And so I want you to know that your story matters. People need to hear it. People need to see you in your truth. People need to see you trusting your intuition, trusting your guidance system, choosing to stand in your power because it benefits all of us when you do. So I hope you guys are having an amazing day. This is a beautiful 6 energy day, which really is all about that sense of harmonizing the ebb and the flow, harmonizing the contrast, harmonizing the crunchy bits with the loving, beautiful bits in order to create this opportunity to continue to spiral into a greater sense of well-being and trust with ourselves. So I hope you get to experience that today, and I hope you have an amazing day, and I look forward to chatting soon.